CNN political commentator and political anchor for Spectrum News, Errol Lewis, with us, and Shan Wu, a CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Errol, I want to ask you about what this means for the Stormy Daniels case. And let me be very clear here. Daniels sued President Trump, of course, asserting that this agreement wasn't binding because he never signed it. In what is seen by many as a big shift, he's agreeing with that. But he's agreeing with that, most believe, primarily to try to get out of a deposition. Avenatti, in fact, her attorney, tweeted this: "I've been practicing law for nearly 20 years. Never before have I seen a defendant so frightened to be deposed as Donald Trump, especially for a guy that talks so tough. He's desperate and doing all he can to avoid having to answer my questions. He is all hat and no cattle." What is at stake for the president if he's deposed?
Well, obviously, there's a problem because the stance and the original purpose of the NDA, of the whole scheme, so to speak, was that you had a desire by Donald Trump to keep Stormy Daniels quiet. Now, they tried to have it both ways. They tried to effectively enforce the terms of the non-disclosure agreement while at the same time denying that anything happened. A deposition was clearly going to reveal that both of those things could not be true. And it was clear that the game was up when we had Michael Cohen plead guilty to certain offenses and also say in the course of that plea that he was doing it with the guidance and the coordination of Donald Trump, and that he was doing it in order to influence the election. So the whole game was really up at that point, and there was nothing to be gained substantively and quite a lot to lose by being deposed. By being deposed, he would have exposed himself to a lot of different problems. And of course, his team very much remembers the Paula Jones case, which is why and how we had perjury from a prior president that led to his impeachment.
So, Shan, with that said, what would the president be asked specifically if he's deposed?
Oh, he can be asked a lot of things. I agree with Errol. It's a very dangerous situation. He could be asked, did the affair occur? Did he direct Cohen to do this? And Cohen's already pled guilty to an illegal move on his part to affect the campaign. So those exposures are enormous for him, and he absolutely had to avoid that. I mean, moreover, to Errol's point, there's no purpose anymore in enforcing the NDA. I mean, it's already gone completely public. They really can't, put the genie back in the bottle at this point. And it's kind of interesting, too, because this whole world of NDAs that we're seeing is such a favorite legal tool of the president. That's very effective in the business and corporate world because people are afraid of that sort of intimidation that, each breach could cost you $1 million. People are scared of that. When it's in the public arena, it's a different story. People aren't afraid to speak up, and I think that the president and his legal team is finding that technique is just unraveling for them. It's just not working.
Errol, I want to look at some midterms here because Victor talked to Congressman John Delaney just a little bit ago, and he was saying, he's got this 2020 bid himself now. He was saying that Democrats are about bipartisanship. What will Democrats have to run on besides, however, Donald Trump is bad?
Well, yeah, look, running on Donald Trump is bad is only going to get you so far. In fact, for most of the Democrats who are now finishing up the round of primaries that will precede the general election campaign, it's required. You have to take notice of it. You have to let the energized and, in some cases, enraged Democratic base know that you are with them in spirit. But the polling reveals that there are some very, very familiar bread and butter issues that are top of mind for Democrats as they head for the midterm elections. They care about health care. They want to have health care. They care about student debt, especially if they're on the younger end of the voting age, and also have a lot of debts that they have to deal with. There's still some lingering concerns about the economy. There are a lot of indicators that are going in the right direction, but not all of that has trickled down to people's households yet. Remember, that tax cut has not really taken effect just yet. So there are a lot of bread and butter issues that Democrats, if they're smart, are going to run on locally. And frankly, the leadership has pretty much acknowledged this. They've told their candidates, run on whatever works in your particular district.
I want to get to, real quickly, one other interesting note, this time from Republicans. Mulvaney in the White House said this, according to the New York Times. He said this in private. There is a very real possibility that we will win a race for Senate in Florida and lose a race in Texas for Senate. I don't think it's likely, but it's a possibility. How likable is the candidate? That still counts. How much, Errol, does that still count?
I think he may have hurt Ted Cruz's feelings. It always counts. It always counts. And Mick Mulvaney, a former member of Congress,
there are a lot of people
that
didn't like Donald Trump necessarily, but they still voted for him.
Well, no, there are a fair number of people who actually do like him and liked his style. I mean, the reality is it's politics 101. You have to be a likable candidate or you've got no business in the voting booth. I think Mick Mulvaney, frankly, is whistling past the graveyard or past the voting booth, as the case may be, because the generic polls shows the Democrats with, in recent weeks, a double-digit lead. That's not a good sign, and frankly, it's not just about personality when it comes down to that.
Okay, so we were just reading in the Texas Tribune, Ted Cruz was out talking about O'Rourke, of course, and he said something interesting here. His comments about the opposition, the Dems, they say took a quirkier turn as he said, Democrats want us to be just like California, right down to tofu and silicone and dyed hair. Shan, what do you make of where this is going?
Well, I like tofu. I don't like the other parts.
Well, and I'm sitting here thinking, I'm betting there are a lot of people from California that have moved to Texas
Right.
that might not fall in the likability category, is what I'm saying.
Right, exactly. I don't think that does much to sort of broaden their overall appeal to a large range of voters. That's what I think.
It really,
Alrighty.
it really speaks to the fact that they want to fight a culture war because they can't necessarily win on the issues. They've got a great economic record, or the economic record that they wanted. For some reason, they don't want to run on that. They want to go to a culture war, and that suggests it's going to be a very nasty campaign.
All righty. Errol Lewis and Shan Wu, always appreciate the two of you being with us. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.